Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadiens, we get mad about the Senators game 2 days later and so much more.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 999 of Locked On Canadiens. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, and remember to make every moment more right now because new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Just visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started. We are, of course, Locked On Canadiens, your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching on youtube.com as well. We are there. Just search Locked On Canadiens. You will find us. I am one of your hosts for free. Yes, for free every day, except for yesterday, because we'll get into that in 1 second. But I am one of your hosts. I am Scott Matla, and I'm joined, as always, by the active stick, Laura Saba. And we do have to apologize. Life finds a way sometimes to get in the way of things. Last night, my back was in all sorts of agony that sitting in the chair that I am currently sitting in was impossible. I watched the Canadiens game lying on the floor because it was the only thing that did not hurt. And my co-host had a work emergency to tend to in that regard. So we're sorry that we weren't able to get the whole immediate Senators angry aftermath out. But don't worry, we're still going to get into that in this episode. Actually, coming up in this first segment, we're going to talk about the lines as well because they're bad and I'm upset. I know everyone's shocked by that. And Patrick Roy is back in Montreal. It's going to be an experience. But first, Laura, I have talked now the entire opening part of this show. How are you doing today, knowing that we didn't have to watch the Montreal Canadiens play on Wednesday?
I was just scrolling just to make sure there were no additional injuries before we started the show. That's become my ritual now, and unfortunately, I was running a little late to this recording, just catching my breath, and I just needed to make sure that there were no dead Canadians, because that seems to be the pattern. All right, so I'm doing well. I also apologize. As I was saying, I do apologize for missing the show as well yesterday. But let's be honest, we needed a day to recover from that Sens game. It was. This is really funny, actually, because Scott texted me, and I can't remember what I was saying to him. And then he texted me, said, cue the incoming 5-0 game. And then literally 2 minutes later, he was like, I was kidding, guys. So that's how that game went. I was relieved at the end of the evening when the Canadiens managed to score 1 goal, which I think kind of sums up my feelings about the Montreal Canadiens versus the Ottawa Senators. And the thing is, it's the worst people that rejoice in this. Like, it's not even that it's like, oh, it's a cute little fan base we love, like, the Columbus Blue Jackets fan base, or, some of our friends in let's say in San Jose. It's literally the worst people ever being happy about this. And Martin St. Louis cannot get on board with my need to see the Ottawa Senators crushed, specifically by the Montreal Canadiens.
8 straight losses to this team. I'm pretty sure the only one that he hasn't been able to figure out at this point. And I don't understand it. This game from the outset was just, it wasn't going to be good. The Habs were right there. They kind of started off well. They were there. They were in this game. And then they went on the power play and the wheels just, everything came off in this game. Nothing that could go right because they went into this game, mind you, with 3 centers because they sent Mitchell Stevens down on waivers. He cleared. They did not call him back up. They double shifted Nick Suzuki as a center. They still played a 4th line, and every part of it was bad. Every part of this game was bad. The goal that Jake Allen gave up shorthanded was terrible. The one that happened a minute or so later to Jake Sanderson was terrible. And at that point, the minute the second goal went in, that Sanderson goal, where just the defense had no idea that he was there at all. I just went, this game's over. They don't have it. Allen doesn't look good, and the defense is just not there tonight. This was not a game where the Canadiens were there. And you can tell when they are not there in a game because the effort sucks. Outside of a handful of people, the effort sucks. And I can excuse, we had a bad game against a good team, but we worked our asses off. They didn't do that in this game. It was, 20 skaters or 18 skaters and a goaltender all just kind of out there. Cole Caulfield's point streak continues, which, yippee, great, cool.
We do have to talk about the good stuff.
Yeah, it's just everything else sucked in this game and doesn't make up for it, doesn't balance the things out the way we want it to. And it was embarrassing because this team embarrassed you last week. And you had time off, you had rest, you got embarrassed in Boston. Yeah, you got embarrassed in Boston that you want to go into this game with a point to prove. The only point you proved is that the Senators are not afraid of you. They do not care. And yeah, they're terrible, but they don't care about you at all. And it shows. They have no fear every time they play the Montreal Canadiens because they know they're under their skin and in their head. It's infuriating to watch.
Yeah, that's the thing I was about to say, is that there are some teams that you just kind of have a mental block against. And I think that's absolutely a thing in situations like this. Like, like how when there's a team that's going through a terrible losing streak, a lot of the time it just kind of loss begets loss begets loss begets loss. And this kind of feels that way as well. It's just concerning to me that they don't seem to be upset with themselves. Like against the Boston Bruins, like after that, the game, the quotes, the discussions, the conversations they were having were very different. Like it feels very defeatist against the Ottawa Senators, and there's absolutely no reason, like as much as it pains me to say that, and I really, really do want to wash my mouth out with soap when I say this, but the Boston Bruins are an excellent team. It makes sense that they are beating up on a bottom feeder team. 100%. Like that makes sense. It makes absolutely no sense that the Ottawa Senators, a team that can't even figure out what they are, constantly beats the Montreal Canadiens. And I think like this is something where like it's also probably like a mental block for the coach as well. Like I have faith that Martin St. Louis is going to figure it out, but I'm getting a little bit impatient for it to happen because again, every single loss against the Ottawa Senators, a puppy dies somewhere on the earth.
It's just that the decisions in this were maddening to me because they dressed Michael Pezzetta again. Okay, fine. He played a minute 57. Which, what are we doing here? You couldn't score goals against them. You couldn't score goals in this one. You know who's sitting in the press box? Jesse Ylönen. You have Rafael Harvey-Pinard on the fourth line. You're demoting guys here, there, and everywhere. And we will get to the lines in a little bit, but we saw a preview of everything. Josh Anderson ended up on the top line at the end of this game. People are going to go, wow, well, they looked better and they came out trying. Cool. It took 40 minutes. I'm not taking Josh Anderson on the top line as, this worked. It is, this is a threat that I'm unhappy with all of you at this point.
Yeah, that was the message. And I just want to say a minute 57 is actually a shorter amount of time that it took me to start speaking in this episode. Like that's how little Michael Pezzetta started. Was off the ice.
I considered doing the intro and saying nothing for a minute and 57 seconds and then launching into this, but I don't think it makes good quality video or audio.
People would have thought something was wrong and tuned out.
It's just, I like Michael Pezzetta. I like him for what he is. But if you're going to play someone a minute 57, either dress a seventh defenseman because you scratched Jordan Harris or play Jesse Ylönen. Even it doesn't make any
literally
sense.
Put him on the ice for longer. Like he's sometimes some nights, even though he's not as talented as the other guys, some nights he's the only person making an effort and bringing any kind of energy. What is the point of playing him for 1 minute and 57 seconds?
Like I kind of get it because he took a terrible penalty. That was his only shift.
It's fine. Throw him back out there. Put him back out there. He's going to get in people's faces. He's going to annoy some Ottawa Senators. He's going to, rattle some cages, and he's going to wake up some of his teammates. What's the point of having Michael Pezzetta if you're not going to play him? Sorry, Scott, I keep interrupting you.
It's just I I don't get the point of it because they still don't have a center as a fourth line center, so they're double shifting people. We're going to get into the new lines coming up in our next segment. We have so much more to get.
Good luck to us.
Yeah, I'm going to try to keep my heart rate and everything down here and try to not wake up my neighbors with that. And that's all coming up next. But first, as I said off the top of the show, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL regular season is all wrapped up. We're in the NFC, AFC championship games, and there's still plenty of time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet today. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. You can check live same-game parlays, find bets in the Explore tab to see what catches your eye, or go to the Parlay Hub and see the most popular parlays on FanDuel right now. And when you win, you can cash out immediately on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/locked-on and make your first bet a layup today with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL and us here at Locked On. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. We have a lot to cover in this show. We're going to talk about Patrick Roy a little bit later on in this episode here. It's been a frustrating day a little bit here because they lost to the Senators. They put Joshua Roy on waivers, which is going to feed into
They put him on waivers.
Or he sent him down to the AHL.
Oh my God, Scott! I was like, can I do math? That wasn't a very long time.
I was going to say he's not eligible for waivers. That's my fault for making everyone panic here. So I'm just trying to look up the lines here real quick because they are, again, infuriating.
I really thought I had entered some sort of time space thing. I was like, he's only played a handful of games. What?
So I am looking I have the Habs site up here. If you're wondering how badly this is going right now, they only have 3 lines listed on the pairing. Both Matheson and Savard had therapy days as well, so they were not at practice. So they only had 5 defensemen. Current line starting on their third one: Gallagher, Evans, Harvey, Pinard. Fine, don't have an issue with it. Slavkovsky, Monahan, Armia.
Why? I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Why? Free Slavkovsky.
And well, here's the thing: is we're going to get worse here. Caulfield, Suzuki, Anderson is the top line again. And then in their own quotes, forwards Michael Pezzetta, Tanner Pearson, Joshua Roy, and Jesse Olin rotated on the fourth line, and then they sent Roy down to the AHL. Anyways, he did not play Wednesday night against Utica. I don't know how long he's going to be there for. It doesn't make any sense to me. I saw Anderson on the top line and just closed out of Twitter before I got myself banned from the website for just, yelling expletives into the void here.
If you're free tonight, walk by the Bell Center. You might end up on the fourth line of the Montreal Canadiens.
If you can take a face-off, they might sign you to a contract, quite literally. Can you take a face-off and get off the ice like they used to do with Manny Malhotra? Great, cool. Report to the Bell Center. Tell Martin St. Louis you can take face-offs.
I think if you're just, at this point, if you're just Guy, report to the Bell Center.
Guy. It's pronounced Guy. In this province, it is Guy, Cole, Nick, Guy. Everywhere else, it is Guy. Just in this one, it is Guy. Anyways, to the main point of this all, I saw Josh Anderson on the top line, and I just went, are we just throwing in the towel on a line that was working and has hit a small... It's not even a rough patch because Caulfield's on a 7-game point streak anyways.
I think it was a message. It just feels like the wrong message to send.
It is. Here's the thing: is I don't mind the line with Monahan and Armia. Armia is actually playing decent hockey right now. That I think he's playing pretty good overall quality hockey. Is he a superstar? No, but I think the way his cycle game works and his instincts sometimes can actually help Slavkovsky, who uses his frame to make plays in the same way. And Sean Monahan is just a very smart player. Maybe obviously not as skilled as Suzuki and Caulfield. It is putting Anderson on that spot that doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me. And I get that it's sending a message, or maybe they looked better or something. I can count on this team the amount of other players that I would have before Josh Anderson back on the top line again. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. If we had another center, 5 before I would put Anderson back up there. 6 if I'm counting Yoel Armia, which I am not in this one. It feels like this is a white flag moment that you're putting Anderson back there. Doesn't work on that line. And not to kind of, Captain Hindsight this, but this is what we have to do. Looking at it now, Kent Hughes not taking whatever package he was offered for Josh Anderson last year, I think is going to hurt this team through the rest of this year because they can't find a spot.
There's still people that want like a big guy that can skate.
I think last year was our last chance to potentially get a first round pick for him until he gets to the last year of his deal. And when he's playing this poorly, I'm not sure anymore. And all it's going to do is make Suzuki's defensive work harder. And Caulfield's going to have to work harder because Anderson can't make plays. He's not a passer, and he doesn't play defense well. So it puts more pressure on that line against top opponents. And yes, the Islanders are maybe not the most
top opponent.
not the most fearsome opponent, but they have pieces that will make that line's life a nightmare.
And they're also riding the new recent coach firing high, right?
Yeah, well, they're 1-0. We'll see. I don't think they play tonight, but no, because it's Wednesday. Anyways, we will see what that looks like there. It's just, are we really going to do this? And it brings me back to our point in the first segment here. They don't have a fourth center on the roster right now. I believe Pearson and Pizzetta were taking faceoffs before they started double shifting Suzuki because they benched Pizzetta. And they sent Mitchell Stevens down. He scored the game-winning goal for the Rocket tonight, actually, which is awesome for that. But they don't have a center. And it's like, you can't run an NHL lineup with 3 centers only. You're perfect. Right. You're perfect. Yeah.
Not if you don't want Nick Suzuki to drop dead of exhaustion.
I don't want Suzuki to play 25 minutes a night. I want him to play well, like 20-ish minutes a night. For the love of God, let the man rest. He's got to go to the All-Star game next week still. Like, let my man rest a little bit. There's just a lot of bizarre things happening here that, like I said, Joshua Waugh was sent down today. Is he going back up? Is he coming back down? I don't know. I would prefer to have him in the lineup over someone like Michael Pizzetta right now. I don't think he played badly. He had a goal and an assist in his call-up time. But something isn't making sense here. And a lot of people are speculating maybe they're going to claim Adam Ruzicka off waivers from the Calgary Flames. 6'4", 24-year-old Slovakian center. He can, play fourth line minutes or third line minutes, depending on where they want him, I guess. And Stevens is back with the Rocket. But are we really counting on him getting to the Canadiens and hoping that he gets to the Canadiens? Or is this just a Hail Mary like copium? I feel like I'm slightly losing my mind here.
That's okay. So are the Habs lines. I think there's got to be something going on here. And like every time I see something like this, I'm like, I'm looking forward to the trade deadline. Something's up. Like this team is a bunch of sellers, but I don't think they're necessarily selling anyone right now. And that's what's concerning is like, to me, it feels like the Josh Anderson on the first line is sending a message. It's not showcasing Josh Anderson. It's not putting him in the best position to succeed, right? And you were saying like you don't really have a problem with that Monahan Slavkovsky line. Are they trying to sell Monahan now? Is that what's going on?
Like, I think that's exactly it. Because Monahan is all over all the like national news wires. Is that, he's going to get a first, and everyone's laughing, going, LOL, like Tanner Jeannot didn't get traded for a Brinks truck of gold bars, and David Savard got 2 first-round picks at one point. Like,
well, we can never forget Ben Sherratt.
Speaking of trades that maybe haven't worked out the way we had hoped, oh boy, that's a completely different day. It's just, I don't know if it's showcasing or what, but it feels like a step back from what they were doing with Slavkovsky, who didn't look out of place. And yeah, they had a couple of bad games because everybody was playing bad. And that starts from the defense, where Mike Matheson and David Savard We're back together again, and we know it doesn't work.
They're being held together by Band-Aids on each other.
I just tethered David Savard or Mike Matheson to the net so they can't get too far away. It's Martin St. Louis when things don't go or aren't going right is he defaults to just veterans will fix this. And on
Because
this
he did
team,
so many times when he was a player as the veteran, he fixed it. But I think like sometimes he just like doesn't think that like not everybody is as talented as he is. Because he also like his story is that he fought his way to the NHL, right? So I feel like he thinks that everybody can fight their way into being good. And I just honestly that's how it feels sometimes when he overplays his veterans.
it's wild to me that he saw Harvey Pinard score 15 goals last year and went, we shouldn't give him a run on the top line then. Josh Anderson. No, I'm not going to yell because people are trying to sleep, but it's just, we'll see how this goes here. I want to set the expected goals for that line I'm over under 35% against the Islanders. Laura, are you taking the over or under in that?
I'm taking the under.
Yeah, same. They might top it because the Islanders are a top heavy team, but I'm going to take the under with that. I'm going to say they end around 32% and that is as a whole line, not individually, but as a whole line together. If not, which means we're getting a Josh Anderson hat trick tomorrow night so I can eat something disgusting on this podcast,
Oh
which
my
by the way,
speaking of tomorrow night is our 1000th episode.
so please send us your mailbag questions for that. We're going to hang out, have a good time. We'll recap the game. We'll do some mailbag questions. We'll do some reminiscing about 1,000 episodes. We will do an actual celebration when life isn't so hectic as I'm getting ready to leave for Dallas for a week and some other things, but we will have
have a special guest planned.
Yes, it is
We
just a
just
matter
can't
of getting
confirm
our
it until we do it.
Yes.
Until we record it.
Yes. So we have so much coming up. Please send your mailbag questions at LO_Canadians, LockedOnCanadians@gmail.com. However, we do have the Patrick Waugh return, and we're going to talk about that and more coming up next. But first, we're all driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed because Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. I had to go through the whole hiring thing a couple of 6 or 7 months ago. Indeed made everything so easy, from posting to being able to match with people who were looking for me and me having the skills to match exactly what they were looking for. And you can join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/locked on. Just go to Indeed.com/locked on right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed from this podcast, Locked On Canadiens. That's Indeed.com/locked on. Some terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. All right, so the Islanders and Patrick Waugh are coming back to Montreal on Throwback Night, as we discussed in our Tuesday episode, or Tuesday for Monday for Tuesday, whatever. Anyways, the point being, Patrick Waugh is back in the NHL, and one of his first games is back in Montreal to play against the Canadiens as somehow coach of the Islanders. And I'm going to just jump in front of this narrative now because I know it is coming if they lose this game. Should the Canadiens have hired Patrick Waugh instead of Martin St. Louis?
The answer is no.
Well, so, and I'm gonna put on my best law school voice here, if Carly is listening to this, to play devil's advocate. Could he have gotten this, some of these veterans who weren't performing in order? In a perfect world, I understand where people's mind goes to, is that he is a guy who expects a lot and demands a lot and doesn't take crap from anybody, which is sometimes a problem. If this team were still more laden with veterans and wasn't in a rebuild where they were actively tearing down and selling off assets, I would say 100% that maybe not 100%, but that maybe Patrick Waugh would have fit what this team is looking for. based on where they are at right now with young goaltenders and young defensemen and young forwards trying to make an impact. No, because we saw, just listening to some of the stories of players that dealt with him in Colorado or in juniors and everything, it seems like a nightmare.
I don't think development is his strong suit. I think that's the key here, is that I feel like in terms of being a motivator, he probably is effective with veteran players, as you said, or if the talent was already there and what the Canadians were faced with was underachieving talent, I think that would have been a spot for him. I think as a goaltender, generally goaltenders who become coaches, they see the game differently and they often have a lot more holistic ideas and a lot better strategy. I'm not saying why what did you see? Is it just because I said
Uh,
holistic ideas?
no. So we're in the middle of the show here. Of course, the Canadians made a recall at 10:18 p.m.
Go on.
Who do you think they recalled?
Joshua Roy.
No.
Oh no.
They recalled Lucas Condotta from the Laval Rocket after he had two assists tonight. He is going to be our
Listen,
fourth line center
good
again.
for
So
him, but he was not the answer, okay?
I guess they're
Um
just auditioning the fourth line spot now. So congratulations to Lucas Condotta on getting his second NHL point. He got the one against Boston last year when he was called up too. Just, oh man,
yes. Okay,
we're
sorry, let
deck
me just
chair.
finish my point about Patrick Roy, and then we'll spend a few minutes talking
Yes.
talking
If
about
someone
Lucas
wants to
Condotta.
clip my reaction to Lucas Condotta getting called up, please do and send it to me.
All right, so real quick, so like as we said, he's not like he would have been, as a goaltender, he sees the ice differently, he sees the game differently. A lot of goalies who become coaches have a lot like they've got great defensive strategy, they've got great ideas. We do find generally they think about the game in like with better perspective, with more perspective than players who might or coaches who might have been forwards or defensemen. All of this to say is that I think that while Patrick Roy has a lot of merits, including the fact that he was a legend, obviously, I personally feel that as a developer of young talent, I don't necessarily think that he would have been the guy. And we've heard stories, obviously, like nothing that we know, like we wouldn't discuss anything that we haven't confirmed or has not been independently confirmed. But we know it wasn't necessarily a good time. So you'd have to be a veteran, an established veteran, a talent that was underperforming but had a thick skin in order to play and succeed under Patrick Roy. As far as him coming back to Montreal and the circus that surrounds that, I would prefer to avoid it altogether and turn our attention back to Lucas Condotta. And how's he been doing, Scott, in Laval?
I am currently trying to find a meme that someone had made for me last year when we had the most Italian fourth line I've ever seen in my entire life.
Do we have another
Uh,
Italian fourth line?
well, I'm assuming Pizzetta is going to play as well. So, like, I'm Condotta's come on a lot stronger lately. He got a 1-year extension in the offseason. He's got 13 points in 37 games for the Rocket. That doesn't include his 2 points tonight. He had 31 points in 72 last year. He's been mostly playing as a middle six, bottom six kind of forward winger for the Rocket, who have
And I've
had,
liked him on the bottom six.
and that's the thing, is it's like the Rocket have had pretty decent center depth throughout the year here because a lot of their forwards can alternate between spots there. Brandon Gignac can play both. Philippe Maillet can play both. Xavier Simoneau can play both. Elias Anderson can play both. Sean Farrell can play both. Riley Kidney, Jan Mysak, Condotta, Stevens, etc. can all play both positions. This is just literally, hey, we're going to see what you can do. If you can stick, great. If not, we're going to put you on waivers and you can go back down. I'm kind of surprised that Xavier Simoneau or Elias Anderson were not their calls here. Simoneau's quietly had a good year, 24 points in 33 games, not counting tonight. And there's still Brandon Gignac, who has 35 points in 38 games, but would need an AHL contract into an NHL contract. I'm just going to go ahead and book it now. Condotta's going to get a point tomorrow night somehow, and he's going to stay for however long Mitchell Stevens stayed as well. Everyone who wrote your Adam Ruzicka waiver articles, probably throw him in the trash at this point then. I doubt the Canadians are claiming him. If they do, cool. we'll talk about it, but I'm not expecting much. What are we expecting from Patrick Roy's return besides raucous ovation for him behind the bench when he's, I don't know if he's going to be introduced or if they'll do like a welcome back thing for him. I know they did when he played or when he was coaching in Colorado, but what
I
are
mean,
our
he's a Habs
expectations?
legend, so there'll be a lot of camera pans and they'll be cheering, I think. I don't know if they'll officially do anything and put it on the scoreboard, because I believe that was his first return since since he did his whole "Ce soir je rentre chez nous" speech at the Centennial. So I feel like there'll be some sort of noise for him, but it'll be unofficial. I'm not looking forward to the noise about it. Like I'm looking forward to an exciting game, and I'm truly like, one of the things I'm most fascinated by, like we talked about in our last episode, is going to be the relationship between Patrick Roy and Lou Lamoriello going forward. Who's gonna win? Who's gonna win out? Who's gonna be left standing at the end of it? But at the end of the day, like, for me, the focus is going to be, if the Canadians lose, they better lose after having put in an excellent 100% 60-minute effort.
Yeah. So I'm not prepared for the aftermath. If this is a game where the Canadians play well but lose, okay. But if they get their doors blown off again, especially by Patrick Roy, I can picture it in the JDM the next day is whether or not Martin St. Louis is the guy for this job. And you and I can sit here and bang our head against a wall. We want to hear your mailbag questions, though. In the meantime, you can tweet us at LO_Canadians. Tomorrow is episode 1000, which is absolutely mind-blowing. Thank you for your support in that. You can also email us at lockedoncanadians@gmail.com. Put it in the comments down below. We are always open for, just don't be rude about stuff. To ask us anything. We're always here for a good time. We will be here after the Habs game tomorrow night. Thank you, as always, for tuning in, and we will see you all next time.